All right, so let's get started. I got a lot to cover here tonight. Typically this is an open mic, as I said. If anybody comes with any concerns, questions, or issues, the floor is theirs. But otherwise, I always come prepared with a little bit of a lesson of some sort to make sure that you get your money's worth. So let's start first by talking about the disclaimer. The disclaimer: I am an attorney, but I'm not your attorney. I will be giving legal advice, but it's not your legal advice. Always seek out professional, competent legal advice in your jurisdiction whenever you need it. It's money well spent. I'm going to keep my brethren in clover. But I also have to say that to satisfy my friends at the Bar Council, and I just want to make sure that see, I've got this kind of fade in here that I wasn't expecting. So if you have any questions and you want me to get back to you, and I've been getting this quite a bit from Masterclass Elite members, if you ever have any questions you want to talk to me about, just shoot me an email at info@multifamilyinvestingacademy.com. A lot of times I will respond right back to you with the answer, and a lot of times also your question will become part of the frequently asked questions video that you get once a month. So if you have any questions or concerns, just shoot it on over and I'll make sure we get it taken care of. Otherwise, also, because it's an open forum, make sure you're courteous, kind, and forgiving, gentle and peaceful each day. And if anybody knows the next line of that famous poem, then please type it into the question box, and you'll get a special prize. So let's see here. Let me clean up the questions. Some of us, I know, I see one guy, Vance Blue, should know the rest of that song. Come on, Vance. I'm disappointed in you if you don't know that one. All right, let me just get through this. Folks, I'll tell you next time we're not going to have this fade in. Okay. Now, if you want to speak, on your box on the right-hand side, you can raise your hand. If you have your hand raised, I will assume that you want me to take you off mute, and then you can ask your question directly to me, and you can also, everyone on the call can hear you as well. That's fine, no problem. Good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to hear it all. If you don't feel comfortable asking a question live, then go ahead and type it into the box. I will keep it confidential, or keep your who you are confidential, so that I don't embarrass anybody. So we can also handle the questions that way. So just keep that in mind. I really want this to be a dialogue between everybody. But also, just remember, the people on the call are just like you. They need to know what's going on. They want to learn as much as they possibly can too, as well. And a lot of times with you just asking the questions, they'll start to get to know who you are. And that's a nice thing about some of my seminars that I have over the weekend. My clients, my students, all become good friends, which is fantastic. All right, now the other thing that I want to bring up to everyone's attention is the updated membership site. Now, you got an email probably on the 1st of September that the membership site is finally fully operational, and it's working out the way it should be, where we have you're able to log in your username and password, and then you're able to go in and log in your username and password, and you can go into the archives. You can go into the private money tutorials. You can see all the classes that you're registered for, and it all comes up. So if you've been with the program 1 month, you're going to see the first lesson. If you've been with the program 2 months, you're going to get the first and the second lesson. And each month that you stay in the program, you get more educational information on the membership site. So therefore, as we always say, membership does have its privileges. Now, that's the upside. The downside is that I've received some notification from people that their username and password was not working. I have the people on the West Coast who do my website working on that right now. Interestingly enough, someone came back to me and said that after one day, her username and password ended up working, and we were all kind of scratching our heads on our end because we still hadn't had the fix done yet. So we're still trying to figure out why that is working for some people and why other people are able to get into the site. If you are having problems getting into the membership site, please shoot me an email at info@multifamilyinvestingacademy.com, and I want to get that clarified for you as quickly as possible. All right, let me just check to see. Yeah, sorry, I don't know that one. Vance does not know Steve Martin's famous grandmother's song. Let me just close that one out, and so I'll be ready for the next one as soon as they come in. So let's get started here. Now, let me explain to what we're going to talk about. If nobody has any questions offhand, if no one's working on any deals that they need any assistance with, or they want to talk to me about online, I wanted to bring up an email that I received from a new member that is a member of the Boston area RIA club that I run with Duncan Weirman. And she had a ton of questions. And so I said, listen, this is too much for an email. It's even too much for a frequently asked questions video that I shoot. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put your questions on the PowerPoint, and I'm going to answer them on our group coaching call so that everybody can benefit from these questions and everybody can benefit from the answers as well. So let me take that. I tell you guys, we got about 8 or 9 questions that she had on this one particular email. We've got quite a bit to talk about. I want to get through them all, and if you have any questions, as I said, just fill in the blanks, raise your hand. First question, all my properties are belonging to the residential real estate side. Now I am entering into commercial apartment real estate. Let me just bring up all these questions. I'm just going to keep hitting the buttons so we get it through here. Okay. Part A, what are the major differences between commercial apartments and residential multifamily less than or equal to 4 in terms of marketing? Now, obviously, if this was a question in terms of financing, that's an easy question. 4 and under are considered residential. Over 4 is considered commercial. But the question has to do with as far as marketing of the properties. Now, I don't believe that the difference between the two types of property has anything to do with the number of units. I think the difference has to do in the size of, how big the purchase price is. And here's what I mean. This particular investor that asked this question is from Boston. So in Boston, if you're looking at a 9-family or a 10-family, that's $1 million. Down in Charlotte, North Carolina, if you're looking at a 36 unit, that's $1.25 million. So the number of units doesn't really make the difference. The difference really has to do with the value here. And the brokers, tend to handle these cases differently. If you're 5 units to 10 units, that's still considered a small multi. And you're seeing a lot of residential realtors handling that type of deal. A 36 unit would never be handled by a residential real estate broker. So in those cases, from a marketing standpoint, if you're looking in the Boston area, a 9-family is considered, $1 million. You're going to have to get out there and knock on doors and find the brokers that are working in that $1 million range. Down in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we've got this 36 unit, a 4-family could cost $200,000. And then, it's a much smaller deal. So I don't think the difference in the marketing has anything to do with the number of units. I think it has to do with the size, the value of the property. I'm going to get more into this question as we go through it, but because there's another part to this question as we go through it that actually makes a little bit more sense and makes it all kind of come together. She says, should I change my mindset to adjust myself to this new business field? If yes, what changes? Now, you're talking about the new business field. If you're talking about going from residential to multifamily, the answer is absolutely true. Now, this particular investor has not been to my Shark Tank. She's not been to any one of my classes, so she doesn't really understand. She hasn't seen how I teach multifamily to my students. The thing you need to understand is that multifamily is not real estate. Real estate is just the vehicle that we use to raise the money, to generate the cash. The business that we are in is the contract business. We generate revenue based upon the value of the contracts. The real estate is really nothing more than a factory that generates the product, which is the contract. So if you're talking about changing your mindset, you absolutely have to change your mindset. If you're sitting there looking at a 10 family, the most important thing about that 10 family property is not the roof and the basement and the foundation. The most important thing about that multifamily are the contracts that you're buying. You're buying the cash flow. That's what you want. The real estate's just secondary. So yes, you have to change your mindset in this business to think like a business person. You have to look at the profit and loss statement and understand, what's real on it and what isn't real on it. And I make sure that we go through that on a regular basis so that you come out of it. By the time you're done with these questions, by the time you're done with my courses, you will have a great understanding of exactly what it takes to own and operate multifamily property. And the number one thing is understanding the financials. Now, another question, is there a national or a Boston area association just for apartment building owners? Now, there can be. Now, she obviously met us through our RIA club. And this particular RIA club is a new startup RIA club which doesn't have any subgroups. Many area associations have their real estate investment club, but then within that club they'll also have a sub-market or subcommittee just for apartments. I know that the people out in the Seattle RIA, I'm trying to remember what it's got a particular name. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. But the Seattle Washington RIA actually has a multifamily investing academy subgroup. And there's some other groups have started up where I've spoken where they will actually have groups of people after one of my classes will form a subcommittee or subgroup below the local RIA club. Right now, the Boston area Real Estate Association does not have that, but if you are in different parts of the country, you should definitely check that out and make sure that you're a part of that group, because you can learn a lot from those people. It's a great group, great networking crowd as well. Now, she states, in your own experiences, how many percent, okay, this is a tough question, how much percent of your apartment buildings come from real estate agents and how many come from USDA? Now, the reason why she asked USDA is because she had just gone through the first lesson in the master class program. And she says, how many percent from bird dogs and how many percent from wholesalers? Now, the answer is I have no idea. Nobody keeps these statistics. I can tell you, though, that the majority come from real estate agents, real estate brokers. It's the path of least resistance. It's the easiest path to take, so more and more people take it. Doesn't mean that's where you're going to find your deals, though it could be. You might, once you get in tight with a real estate agent or real estate broker, then yeah, you might be able to get some pretty good deals off that guy. But the fact is that there's no way for me to tell exactly how many come from what source. Just in my own let me think here. I'm just trying to do, off the top of my head, some of the deals I've done. One came from a mortgage broker. One came from a couple came from brokers. One came off a LoopNet, I'm embarrassed to say. And let me see, what else was there? The most recent one we did came from a cocktail party. People just knew we were in the business, and they said, hey, I might have a lead for you. And it turned out to be a phenomenal lead, and we bought it. So you're in the business, you're constantly in the business, you're constantly looking for deals. Anywhere you go, you've got to keep your eyes open and just talk it up. Let people know what you do, and you'll be surprised at what people come back at. I mean, remember that the first group coaching call where I did the comparison of that property down in Florida. I had already seen it. I had seen it when it was off market. I knew about that property up here in Boston because of some broker down in Florida. So you just have to let people know what you do, and you never know what's going to drop in your lap. Little postscript to that story. If you recall, I had received it in from one particular broker, and then when the masterclass member sent it to me, it was with Marcus and Millichap. Well, it turns out that the broker that we were dealing with passed away. So in the 6-month period between when I started looking at it and went to Marcus and Millichap, the broker died, which is kind of sad. I think it was like a 58-year-old guy, and it was just he just Never woke up one night. So now in my marketing class, most of my contacts are through the internet. How can we establish trust remotely? Great question, because I do teach in my marketing class that you have to do this business. It's a relationship business. That's how you're going to make this thing work. So if you're getting everything over the internet, how are you able to establish a trust and build that relationship, remotely? Great question. It just goes to show you that what you need to do is pick up the phone and speak to these people. You can find them on the internet, but you have to pick up the phone and start building a relationship with them. That's just the way it has to be done. There's no other way to do it. You're not going to do it with a letter campaign. You're not going to do it by email. Email tends to actually destroy relationships. You just have to pick up the phone and speak to these people on a regular basis, like you would with anyone you're trying to build a relationship with. Consider some of these sources like Match.com. You find them on Match.com, but you don't date them on Match.com. You got to actually get out there and see these people face to face. And that was a really good analogy. That just totally popped into my head as I said it. So you guys might want to write that one down. That's a Dobbins classic. Dobbins classic. It'll show up as one of my rules in my next class. I guarantee it. So, all right. Many of your sites provide contact info for real estate agents and their website. Okay, this is really good. Some of their properties are not listed on LoopNet. Why do the agents prefer to list on their own sites, since LoopNet allows them to reach millions of buyers? It all comes down to money. It costs a lot of money for them to advertise on LoopNet. And so if they put all of their properties up on LoopNet, then it's going to cost them a ton of dough. But instead, they put what we call in the business the lead magnets out there on LoopNet, the properties that will have the greatest appeal to the greatest number of people. And then people will come back to that broker, get into his system, he can add their email to their database, and then he can start marketing all his properties to those people that he found on LoopNet. It's a brilliant way to do it. It's very, very cost effective. You just can't do this all the time. You just can't throw all of your properties up on LoopNet. Some of them are just not worth putting on LoopNet. But that's why they do it. It costs a lot of money, and that's what I've heard recently. You're going to see fewer and fewer properties on LoopNet because LoopNet's going up on their prices, and the brokers are really rebelling quite a bit towards LoopNet. So definitely, when you find these brokers, get down in the trenches and look at their own website, start building up relationships with them, and make sure you're out there on a regular basis talking to these people. That's how you're going to do it. Now, is it true in general that you will pay higher purchase prices when buying an apartment building from a real estate agent than a wholesaler or property finder? There's no hard, fast rule that this is actually a truism. But the fact is that when you're dealing with a real estate agent or a real estate broker, it's their job to maximize the profits for their client, who is the seller. Remember, they're not your client. You don't work with the agent. The agent represents the seller. So it's his responsibility to get the highest price he possibly can. So that's why, and on top of that, you've got the real estate fee built in, 5 to 6% depending upon how they negotiated it. Now, having said that, now we've got now the question is having the wholesalers or the property finders. There's no rhyme or reason as to the purchase price, automatically being lower if it's a wholesale deal or a bird dog deal than if it is with an agent. But just remember one of my other rules: the biggest lie in multifamily is the asking price. That is not even a point that you need to start with. Get in there, look at the financials, look at the income and expense statement, and come up with the right price that works for you. Don't worry what the real estate agent is asking or what the wholesaler is asking. That's meaningless. Remember, that's the biggest lie in multifamily. So don't worry about the price regardless of who you're talking about. You've got to just make sure and do your own analysis and make sure it's a good deal yourself. Now, another thing she watched was how I set up my accounts on LinkedIn. And in the video I say you should set up 2 accounts on LinkedIn. How can you do it? And then she also told me there was a very smart idea, and I'd like to thank her for that because she's very right. How can you do it? Well, the thing to do it is you obviously need 2 email addresses. And when I first did it, I did not realize why I was doing it. What happened was I have one of my email addresses is Dobbins Company, and I quickly found I could only put 50 groups. Like I could only join 50 groups per email account. Well, there were so many more I wanted to join, so I needed a second email account, and that's when I came up with the Dobbins Law account. So now I have 2 accounts on LinkedIn that have 50 groups associated with them. Now, that's easy to do. You just go make up an email account on Yahoo or Google or Gmail or what have you. That's easy to do. Now, the thing that is the problem is when you have people following you on both of the email accounts. So you want to have one account that's kind of almost like an anonymous account, and then you have another account that is your major account. See, what happened is I decided just from a work standpoint that I wanted the Dobbins Law account to be my primary LinkedIn account. Well, I still have people, liking my account or asking me to become their contact on my Dobbins Co. LinkedIn account, which I really don't even monitor anymore. So, I've got people say, hey, you haven't accepted my I don't know what they call on LinkedIn, my friend request. And so, I'm like, well, yeah, because you sent it to Dobbins Co. and I don't even follow that one anymore. So having 2 major faces on LinkedIn can be problematic. Make sure that your second account that you want to pick up the second 50 group of users, group names, is with an account that you don't want anybody else to know about, or nobody's going to come try to do business with you through that account. It's very problematic, and so just make sure that when you set it up, you set it up with that in mind. Now, next question is, you did not talk about sending letters to the individual apartment building owners. Why is that? Now, no particular reason. That was an hour and 40-minute long video, and I could have kept on going. Believe me, there are so many other ways to do it. Now, as a result of this question, I've found some direct mail pieces that I put together for some of my clients, and they are going up on the masterclass resources and archives section. So make sure that it is up there. You find those letters. And I'm just making a note here. Make sure that you go on the archive section so that you can find that stuff. I actually just today I put up more information, more material. There was another recorded interview that I posted today. I'm going to be posting for those, obviously all of you are on the elite class, the private money tutorial lesson 2. I'm posting 3 different marketing packages for properties. From a 10-unit property. If you're looking to raise private money for a smaller property, I have a property package for you for that. For a 40-unit, I have a property package, and then for a 222-unit Fannie Mae deal, I have a property package for you. These are all templates. These are all in Word documents. You can pull them down. You can make them your own, and you've got all the templates needed to go out there and start chumming the waters for both equity and debt. These documents can be used for the banks as well. So you definitely want to have these documents in your arsenal of tricks, and you'll be able to find those in the private money tutorial. So keep looking for new material in the resources and archives. I'm constantly putting stuff up there. I've got so much more material that I haven't even touched yet that is going to be going up on the resources and archives. And if anybody has a document or needs a document and you think it would be beneficial for everybody in the group, shoot me an email at info@multifamilyinvestingacademy.com. I will create it. I will post it up there, and you can have it at your fingertips. The second private money tutorial lesson also talks about using convertible notes to get started in your business. Essentially what it is, borrowing money from a friend or family and giving them a convertible note so that they, it's a debt instrument initially between the two of you. And then if you get a deal into contract and you're going to take it to market and, going to close on that, the person that lent you the money in a debt instrument now can convert that debt into equity in your deal at a premium. So they end up, because they're the first guy in, they end up getting quite a deal with, they lend you $50,000, they may end up with $75,000 worth of multifamily property. So that's another document that you're going to be finding on the Forms and Archives. So keep coming back to that. There's always more. I'll send you out a reminder email once a month to go check it out. It's all good stuff, and I'm here to make sure that it has everything that you guys need to be successful. Now, here's the last question, and this was a huge question. There was just so much to this particular question. I decided that there's no possible way that I can answer that question here on this particular call or in writing, and I realized that the only way that I can really make this thing answer this question has to do with maybe sitting down and recording a Skype session with Duncan, because Duncan has the VAs, the virtual assistants, and he has access to them, and he rents them to you, and these are real estate focused VAs, and I've used them in the past. They're fantastic. And so what I recommend that we do is I'm going to probably shoot a video and post it up here on the archives so that you can always get your hands on it. And what we're going to do is walk through all of the questions that this particular masterclass member had regarding VAs. The questions that she had were very, very specific. It's like, how do you make sure that your password is protected if you give it out to a VA? How do you know at what point does the VA's role stop, and then it becomes your responsibility to follow up with the contact that the VA generated for you. Stuff like that. It really has to do with building the system and making sure the system is in place. And it works out, and it is doing exactly what you need it to do. Oh, let me just shoot back over here. I just want to check to see if we have any questions. Good, we have some questions. So that was the last question online. Now, let me. I've got a couple of students that have written questions in right now. Let me check on these. What is the fastest way to generate direct owner leads? Okay. It's funny that this particular student is on the West Coast, and the person that I was speaking to this weekend over the at the Boston REIA Club, obviously on the East Coast, pretty much the exact same question. Here's how it works. The fastest way to generate direct owner leads is direct mail, and I have a direct mail piece for you. I will put it up in the Forms and Archives, and I'll let you all know when it's up there. Now, so I've got the letter, I've got the template letter, but the bigger question is, well, how do you get the names for these people? And believe me, it is really, really easy. And this is how I do it in my neck of the woods. I walk into the assessor's office in our town, and I say, I'd like to get a database, an Excel database of all multifamily owners with more than 4 units and fewer than 50. Or if it's a small town, I'd like to know all the people in your town that own more than 4 units and one property that's worth more than 4 units. And I'm telling you, it's cost me $50 to get this type of information. These ladies put it on a nice Excel spreadsheet for you. They email it over to you, and you can sort it any way you want. And now you've got all the information that you need in order to contact these people with direct mail pieces. Now, on the smaller size deals, like 25 units and under, I think direct mail is absolutely the way to go. If you're looking for larger properties over 100, 150, don't even bother doing direct mail. It doesn't work. I mean, I have properties worth more than that have more than 100 units in them. There is no possible way you can find me or your direct mail piece is even going to end up in my desk. It just is not going to happen. I've got so many LLCs and buffers along the way. You are just not going to be able to track me down and find me. So don't even bother. But on the smaller size properties, the owners are they're right there. They go out there. A lot of them pick up the rent checks themselves. A lot of them end up going to housing court every Thursday. I don't know what it is in your jurisdiction, but here in Plymouth County, it's every Thursday you go down to housing court. You can go down and you can meet firsthand the angry landlords. So those are the types of things that you can easily find leads for smaller properties. And if that's what you're looking for, man, it's an easy business, and that's the way you should be doing it. You should not be waiting for a realtor to drop it in your lap. You have to be going out to these people directly. Because think about it, some of the best deals that we've had were ones where it never even saw the light of day, never even saw the market. and you know, you want to be the person in place ready to buy that property when it's time. So let me know if that answers your question. Let me see. Are there any nationwide insurance companies that handle insurance for multifamily, providing cheaper rates than local insurance agents? Okay. You know, I'll tell you, all insurance is typically sold through brokers. So the brokers are the ones that have the facilities to be able to find those apartment properties, those apartment deals. You know, there was a friend of mine, his name is Kent Littlejohn. He owns a National Association of Condo and Multifamily insurance agency. I can't even remember the name of his insurance agent, but he's big on LinkedIn. And if you go on LinkedIn and look for Kent Littlejohn, he's got a nationwide insurance agency that handles multifamily. He has always been able to get me some good rates. This past year, we switched it over to another agent who was able to get us a better deal. We had put in, obviously, if you've come to my classes, you know I put in some pretty big insurance claims this past year. And whoops, sorry about that. I put in some pretty big insurance claims this past year, and so I know that you know, we were going to get dinged, and sure enough, we got dunged. And it turned out I was better off switching the business to somebody else, and that's what I did. So. And the thing is, the agent that I switched it to happened to be right up in my old hometown, and he has national facilities to be able to put multifamily deals with. And the other thing, too, is I played golf last month, and we won with the New Hampshire Apartment Association. And it turns out my insurance agent is the insurance agent of choice for the New Hampshire Apartment Association. And so that might be another place where you can find some of these the best carriers to pick up is at the local or the statewide apartment association. So that's definitely another place you want to tap into as well. But you know what? Insurance, in my estimation, and I have been in the business, insurance is a commodity. I don't care how many times people can say, "Oh no, we have the best claims paying ability whatsoever." Listen, insurance is a commodity. These guys just duke it out. I mean, just to think to yourself, when you go for the renewal, and you decide to shop it, and you go to another agent to shop it. You know, one of the things that that the other agent, the new agent does, he says, "Well, what was your renewal?" Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to tell you what my renewal is. Why don't you just tell me what your best rates are? And they always want to know what your renewal is, so they can price it right around there. So you know, it's I think insurance is a scam, but it's a necessary evil and something that we always have to be shopping in our business, because remember, you know, it's important for us to keep our NOI as high as possible. If we can reduce our expenses, you know, every dime we reduce it, we make a dollar. So if we can reduce our insurance expenses by a dime, we made a dollar. So that's what you definitely want to do. Now, here is a question as far as a typical expense ratio for C-class properties. All right, pretty broad question. Let me run through this. Everybody get your pen and paper ready. This is going to be the rule of thumb for the expense ratios for all different types of class properties. A-class properties typically have an expense ratio of 38 to 45%. And it's kind of a big spread, because what you have to take into consideration are those expenses that are very geographically geocentric, so to speak. Taxes and insurance. Taxes and insurance in West Palm can be higher than taxes and insurance in Oklahoma City. So here I am giving you the typical expense ratios for different types of properties with a big spread, because I'm not being told what part of the country I'm giving you this in. So Class A, 38 to 45. Class B, 45 to 55. Class C, 55 to 70. Now here's the rub. With B-class properties, it typically should be tenant-paid utilities. If it is tenant-paid utilities, you're going to see the expenses in the 45 to 50% range. If it's not tenant-paid utilities and it's all bills paid, or the landlord pays it, then you're looking at the 55 to 60% ratio. All right. Now I said that the typically C class about 60 to 75% expense ratio. C class properties always, and I hate speaking in absolutes, but C class properties tend to always be landlord paid utilities. And when you're talking landlord paid utilities, you're looking at about a 65% expense ratio. It's tough to make money in C-class properties. You've got to be very, very careful. As we always say, C-class properties, buying C-class properties is like catching a falling knife. You got to get it at just the right time. Otherwise, you're going to cut yourself. So that's what you need to think about when you're looking at the different expense ratios. Now, knowing that, look at an income and expense statement, I know right away what type of property it is just by knowing what the expense ratio is for that property, for that what the broker is leasing. And this happened just the other day. I saw an expense ratio that was 28%. What do you think my initial reaction was? My initial reaction was BS. You can't run a property with a 28% expense ratio. It just doesn't work. So I quickly told the student that, hey, listen, no way, these numbers are all wrong. There's no possible way this property can operate that way. And sure enough, it was all baloney. And once we finally started digging into it, they all caved, and we all found out what was going on. The other thing is, once you look at the expense rate, income and expense ratio, if it is too low, you know that they're blowing smoke, and if it is outside of the ratios or outside of the rules of thumb, you know there's something wrong. And now you might think to yourself, well, wait a minute, Charlie, maybe there isn't anything wrong. Maybe this guy is really able to run this property at such an effective way that he's able to keep the expense ratios far lower than that class of property. You know what I say to that? BS. This business is not rocket science. There's nothing in it that anyone has a corner on the market on operating a property at so much a lesser value or lesser price than the guy down the street. It always follows the rules. The numbers and the ratios always follow everything. That's the beautiful part of this business, is that everything just makes total sense. And when something doesn't make sense, then there's something wrong with it. So hopefully that was a little helpful to you, give you a better understanding of exactly how these things operate as far as expense ratio. The expense ratio is a very powerful tool that you can instantly determine whether you've got a deal or not. I mean, I say instantly within 30 seconds, I know whether that property is bogus or it's a legitimate property. Another question here is a property class determined by the property's age? Absolutely. This is actually the question that came up in the Boston RIA class the other day. The student said, I'm interested in multifamily, but this whole concept of A class, B class, C class, and D class, I just don't understand. Like, how do you know? I said the difference between A, B, C, and D is time. That's the only thing that distinguishes between the classes, and here's why. A Class A property is brand spanking new, and it's beautiful. It has all the amenities. You want to live there. It is a really nice place. A developer does not go onto a raw piece of land and say, hey, I'm going to build a C-class property here this year. He can't do it. You just can't even build a C-class property. You know, C-class properties are chiller boiler systems, flat roofs, single pane windows. I mean, they don't even make those things anymore. So you can't even build a C-class property. What a developer builds is A. And the thing that takes it from A to B is time. Typically 10 to 15 years, an A-class property starts to become a B-class property. And another 10 to 15 years, a B-class becomes C-class. And, you know, a D-class, there's a fine line between C and D. Typically, it's whether one's performing and the other one's non-performing. So that's the difference between the different classes. Now, there's an exception to the rule, and the exception that I cited the other day was the fact that you walk into New York City, Manhattan. I mean, they have some properties that are being advertised as being pre-war construction. That is a benefit in New York City. So, you're sitting here saying that the difference between A and a C is time, but man, you walk into New York City and everybody wants to live in the pre-war buildings because they're absolutely beautiful. So that's how you need to think about the different classes and the different ages. Age is the thing that makes the difference. If I see a property that's built in 1975, C class. If I see a property that's built in 85, B, B minus. Property built in 95, okay, now we're talking about a B, solid B, maybe B plus, and a property that was built in 2005, 2010, that's an A-class property. And, all of the expense ratios that I mentioned to you just a moment ago all follow those types of properties exactly as I just described. I'll tell you, folks, when you get the hang of this business, nothing's new. You're going to know exactly, as well as I do, just by looking at these deals, what's good and what's bad and what works and what doesn't work and who's trying to blow smoke up your skirt and who isn't, all those types of things. And it actually, it becomes a very fun and easy business. It really doesn't take much to learn it all. So, okay, that was my last question. I'll give you 10 seconds as I start to wind things up. If anybody has any other questions that they want to tie into, they want to just type into the box there, and I'll be more than happy to answer it. If you think of something after, oh, wait a minute, I've got somebody that's got their hand up. I apologize. I just caught on to that. And I'm going to unmute you. And Donald, I'm going to let you talk. And Donald, can you hear me? Well, I hope this works. Maybe Donald hit the wrong button. Or Donald, if you don't want to talk, if you just want to say something into the mic or into the question box, feel free to do that. Oh, he's got his hand back up again. Donald, can you hear me? You should be able to say something if you're on a phone or a speaker. Oh, he doesn't have access. Okay, Donald, I'm sorry. I'll put you back on mute. Donald, if you had a question, go ahead and just ask away. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up tonight. And okay, I got another question, but I just wanted to say before I hang up that I will have this group coaching call encoded and produced and up on the membership site tomorrow. So if anybody wants to hear it again, if you didn't hear it, you can always go back and just say. You can go back on and just listen to it all you want. And I just got a nice hello from a good student of mine. Hello, Doris. Good to hear. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. All right, and let me see this. I have another one from Suzette. What is a typical budget for an effective direct mail campaign? Oh, that's a tough thing to answer. The first thing I would do is I would go back and identify the market that you're looking to do the direct mail piece in. Find those properties. Speak to the assessor's office, get that database on Excel, and find out how many names there are on that list. I mean, when I looked in Plymouth County, I mean, we probably had 50 that were over 20 units. I mean, obviously, I live out here in Massachusetts, and 20-unit properties are very rare and hard to find. But you go down to Texas, and you ask for the same type of list, and you are just going to have thousands of names on the list. So it really depends upon the upon the number of names in the list. Now, the problem is, and this is something you need to understand, it's when you do a direct mail campaign, it's a campaign. It's not a one-shot thing. You need to be contacting these owners on a regular basis because it's probably going to be the 5th letter that you send where they start to say, hey, this Suzette wants my property. I should pick up the phone and give her a call. It doesn't always happen the first one. You've got to create a constant connection with these people, just like you do. You're just building up a relationship with them, like you are with the realtor, with the broker. So make sure that it's a campaign. So when you're figuring out your budget, don't make it a one campaign piece. Make sure that you do many mailings to your list. All right. Yes, Nova. Nova just asked, am I to assume that the login problems will be taken care of soon? Absolutely. We've been working on them once we've identified them. Nova, some of the people have said that that their numbers are, their username and passwords have started to work again. If you want to try it again, Nova, let me know. Shoot me another email for tomorrow. When I come back in tomorrow, I think the people from the West Coast will have got the deal solved and taken care of, and we can figure out exactly what the problem is. And Donald, oh, okay, I'm sorry, your thing had to do not having access to speak. So hopefully that is, hopefully that's it. All right, Nova, great, I appreciate it. So, all right, everybody, as always, if you need me, thanks, Suzette, if you need me, drop me a line, send me an email. I really want to, help all of you get your first deal done. As you start going through the lessons, you're going to learn more and more, and the whole point of where we're going with the lessons is once you hit the 3rd to the 6th month, you are going to be making offers. So when you come on these calls, I want to hear about the offers that you've made, and that's the key. If you're not making offers, this is nothing more than an expensive hobby. So I want to make sure that all of you make those offers, and I want to make sure that you make them the right way so that we can get them accepted and we can start moving you towards that path of getting you into this business. So everybody, great time, another good call. I really appreciate all of you being here with me. It's a lot of fun for me. I really enjoy this, and I want to make this as powerful for all of you as possible. So having said that, I'm going to shut down now, and everybody have a great night, and we will see you and talk to you again in 2 weeks. Unless you need anything sooner, just drop us an email. We'll be more than happy to talk to you. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.